Hello, I am Goose, and we've got some big things happening today for a good old Sponge Robert. I guess that depends on how much you value a Netflix movie, though. When I started writing this script, this movie, that being Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, didn't have any digital footprint aside from a few news articles. No release dates, no trailers, no nothing. So you might be wondering how I got this video about the film posted so dang fast. Well, the answer is quite simple. Somebody on Twitter just posted the whole thing in a fairly decent quality. So I just downloaded it, watched it on that day, and then wrote the script a couple days later. You wanna know how long ago that was? January 21st. The movie just came out today. That's a gap of 194 days. That's like over half a year this movie was ready. How did this movie get leaked so far in advance? Who let this happen? And more importantly, is the movie any good? Well, I'll tell ya. Saving Bikini Bottom is the fourth official SpongeBob movie, and as a frequent of this series, I was curious how this one fares in comparison to the other SpongeBob movies. If I were to rank them, I'd say they basically go in chronological order. You have the first one at the top, absolutely fantastic movie, my entire childhood, and honestly, it could have been a very strong end to the series as a whole. Then, there was Sponge Out of Water. I was pretty disappointed with this movie because the trailers made it out to be that there was going to be a lot more live-action bits than there actually were. I remember enjoying it for the most part. Me and my siblings quote that stupid-ass dolphin all the time, it's hilarious. What happened to Saturn and Jupiter? And then there's Sponge on the Run. It's a pretty movie and all, it's animated pretty well, but it kind of kickstarted Camp Coral. Oh, that was a good alliteration. Anyways, I always just put it at the bottom. It's not a very interesting movie to me. I do enjoy looking at it, though. I'm super curious about how Saving Bikini Bottom is going to fare compared to the last three movies. I'm writing the script as I watch this movie, so if things seem a little bit, like, all over the place and out of order, don't be surprised. I just kind of wrote down different talking points as I felt them, and then I just meshed them into their own little paragraphs to try and make this more well-structured. One more thing real quick. I don't really have that strong of an opinion about the state of SpongeBob in the present day or something like that, so don't take my opinions on this movie as any sort of statement about how SpongeBob is not as good as the past or whatever. SpongeBob has good moments in all the seasons, from what I've seen, and I think you should just let people like what they want. That being said, this movie is inexcusable, man. Also, if you were expecting to see, actual footage from the movie, you're probably dumb, because I haven't been sitting on this video for, 100+ days for it to, get taken down because I put footage from the movie in. You're just gonna see, Battle for Bikini Bottom footage throughout the video. Maybe some screenshots. I think I can get away with screenshots from the movie. But that's it. Anyways, let's get on with the video. Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, is about Sandy Cheeks saving Bikini Bottom. Okay, I probably didn't need to put this sentence in here, honestly. Let me just summarize it. Long story short, Bikini Bottom gets scooped out of the ocean and taken to some lab in Texas that Sandy used to work at, apparently. All the popular SpongeBob critters are getting experimented on to make clones of themselves, so they can all be used as some new big toy brand to make a ton of money for this evil lab. On the way there, Sandy and SpongeBob encounter Sandy's family, which is the big reveal of the movie, I guess. Then at the end, Sandy beats the weird leader of the lab, who's played by Wanda Sykes, and Bikini Bottomers return home. Now, I probably didn't do that good of a job describing it, but it's not a bad concept. Sandy going to Texas to stop people she used to work with to save all of Bikini Bottom. If it sounds like a good idea, you would be absolutely correct. Then you watch the movie and wonder what went wrong. Saving Bikini Bottom feels rushed, confused, and overall unsure of itself. There are so many aspects of this movie that just fall completely flat. What? Completely fall flat, and the few microscopic nuggets of gold that are in here are instantly overshadowed by the rest of the garbage. Now, let's start with that third descriptor, unsure of itself. To me, it feels like there were three completely different ideas they wanted this movie to be. Couldn't decide on a compromise, and they all just got mashed into one. And the result kind of sucks. A lot of pieces in this movie get set up and then proceed to go nowhere. Sandy has this robot horse named Sparky who gets split in half when Bikini Bottom gets abducted, and Sandy and SpongeBob have to go rescue Sparky's ass in the literal sense. Now, you think that Sparky would come along for the adventure to save his other half, but nope. He literally just sits around by the hole where Bikini Bottom was for the entire movie. He shows up at the beginning, is not there at all, and then shows up at the very end. What is the point of this character aside from being ridden by Sandy in the opening musical number? I am confusion. That's not the only bit that's set up for, no payoff. Plankton has a single scene where he schemes about what he plans to do to try and turn his unfortunate situation into his favor, what with, being kidnapped and all that. And that as well goes nowhere. Even the main Wanda Sykes villain is revealed to be mostly a robot, kind of looking in the same vein as Mr. Electric, but then nothing interesting is done with it. It's just used as an excuse for Sandy to get on her back and cut a single wire to make Wanda Sykes do funny Fortnite dances. All set up and no payoff is the name of the game in this movie. Next, I want to point out a big aspect of the movie that irked me. The musical numbers, and I'm using that term pretty loosely. There are about 4 different songs sung in this film, and only 2 of them are actually complete. The one at the start and the one at the end. The 2 songs in the middle are both about 20 to 30 seconds long, and both get cut off before they can conclude. Why bother putting in the musical numbers if you're going to do basically nothing with it? I don't understand. That room could have been used for something like, better pacing? And let's talk about that pacing thing, why don't we? Saving Bikini Bottom is horribly paced all across the board. The way they cram so many characters and ideas into this 90-minute movie means that barely anything can get any tangible screen time, and anything that does has to do the bare minimum. Nothing fresh or unique is really done with any of the older characters, and the newer characters have so little spotlight that they don't really get any development aside from, their most basic of basics. For the old characters, Patrick gets a few lines about being stupid or whatever, Squidward gets a few pessimistic lines about hating whatever situation he's in, and also SpongeBob. Mr. Krabs gets to be greedy, and Plankton says 1 or 2 evil lines. Nothing is wrong with these characterizations, that's how they've been the entire series, but these are really important characters, and given how they are hostages of the main villain, and with how often this movie cuts to the lab, no, not that one. The laboratory, where they are held hostage, you think that these paramount characters, no pun intended, would have something a little less meaningless to do other than the same thing they have been for the last 20 years. And it's not just the returning characters. The new ones also get nothing to do. The big thing in this movie is the reveal of Sandy's family in Texas, as that's where her and SpongeBob are going to save Bikini Bottom. And every member of the Cheeks family has a total of maybe 4 words each. There are 6 members of her family, and with how little they're actually in this movie, about 20 or so minutes from what I counted, I'm surprised that they were able to not only include a bunch of super basic, bare minimum descriptions about Sandy's family members, but also have a super basic exposition about Sandy's backstory as well, being part of the circus with her family, which is also barely touched on at all. Again, none of these ideas are completely terrible. I like the idea of Sandy's family being fleshed out and learning more about what happened to Sandy before her little tree dome. How not to do it is to squeeze it all into a fraction of a 90-minute movie and overloading your viewers with information and characters that completely disappear into the last 5 minutes of the movie. It definitely could have been executed better. There was absolutely potential for those ideas, and it's a shame they kind of flopped, but the storytelling thing isn't the only thing that feels like it flopped. Let's talk about the animation. Given that this movie is made on a Netflix budget, it's understandable that it's not going to be on the same level of quality as Sponge on the Run, which looked absolutely fantastic despite not being a much better movie. However, this is pretty rough, actually. Saving Bikini Bottom looks like it could have come out in the late 2000s or early 2010s, like something after the first Despicable Me, but not after Despicable Me 2, you know? Somewhere in that short time frame. SpongeBob and Sandy, of course, have the best models in the movie. It's understandable, they're both the main characters. And by that I mean Sandy is actually the main character, and SpongeBob has to be there because he's the main character of the show. It's like if they made a movie about Donald Duck, but Mickey was also by his side, not doing anything particularly interesting. Or, heck, even imagine a movie about Goofy. But they would never make something so ridiculous as that. Wait, they made 2? Before I end this video, and believe me, I would love nothing more than to forget this movie the second this video is over, I want to go over not just what I hated about the movie, but what I enjoyed. Because, believe it or not, there are a few bits and bops in here that I didn't completely despise. But first, I have to point out the worst part of the movie by a long shot. I don't even want to say it. The fetishy bits, I don't like it. I don't want to talk about them too long because everyone has their own preferences and all that, and it's not really inherently fetish stuff. And some people are going to call me weird for even calling this stuff fetishy. However, when you have SpongeBob going to the bottom of a pool and tickling random people's feet, Sandy literally inflating after getting stung by a rattlesnake and staying that way for like 5 minutes, and everyone in Bikini Bottom instantly like growing fat after eating one weird little tablet thing the laboratory people give them, there is no way that there wasn't some weird shit going on. I'm half certain this movie was the love child of Dan Schneider and Pyro Cynical. No shade at you, Pyro, your videos are sick as fuck. Please PayPal me $3,000. Now then, what did I actually like? I may be the type to hate being critical and always seeing the bright side, but get ready for an alarmingly short list of things I enjoyed about this movie. First, there's the scene in The Twisters where the cowboys just say beans over and over while they eat beans. That was a good one. The snake character inside of a boot was a good character design, like Rattlesnake Jake, but slightly worse. The scene with the paragliding dog was just barely stupid enough to get a laugh out of me. The art that shows up at the start of the credits is cute, although I don't know if that counts since it's after the movie ends. And the vending machine joke is by far the best part of the whole movie. And that's it. Saving Bikini Bottom, a Sandy Cheeks movie, feels like a waste of everyone's time. The higher-ups that asked for it, the writers and animators, the actors, and the audience. There are a few tiny bits and pieces that got a good chuckle out of me, and a handful of concepts that had potential to be used in any other way, like Sandy's family, her backstory with the circus, and the science lab, and the corporation it's part of. But with all of those ideas, and several worse ones, being crammed into this hour-and-a-half experience, they all get butchered horribly. This movie's peak is at sea level, and its lowest low is like if you took a shovel down to the Marianas Trench. It feels like a fan project or a shitpost at some places. I refuse to believe that a child could enjoy this. This is the type of movie you put on to punish your kid. This is not something I could imagine myself enjoying when I was younger. If I saw this as a kid, instead of the first SpongeBob movie, I would probably avoid any SpongeBob stuff moving forward in my life. In terms of ranking the SpongeBob movies, I suppose going in order of release from best to worst is still the best way to order them. In any case, now you know all my thoughts on this terrible movie. And once I'm out of here, I'm wiping it straight off my memory. But before that, I have to do a little bit of housekeeping first. So look at this pretty art while I talk for a bit, okay? Follow my socials. All of those are going to be in the description. I make some funny posts sometimes on those. They sometimes get more than 2 likes. Become a member of the YouTube channel. It's only like $3 a month, and you get some neat perks, like special polls in the community tab to vote for videos, early viewing of new releases, as well as stuff like a role in special access to a private channel in my Discord server, which you should also join. You're able to, like, talk to me directly and stuff. If you're a fan, that's pretty cool, right? I don't know, I got a lot of my friends in there, and, like, the stream team and stuff. I don't know. Listen to my podcast, check out my streams, play with your dog a little. They need some love. And be sure to send any fan art to the Discord server or tag me in any of my socials to get it slapped in this gallery here at the end. As long as it's not an NSFW. Which, I would be baffled if you could make NSFW of this face. Okay, that's all. My name is Goose, I thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate you spending some of your time on Earth with me. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did. Now get lost!